Do I do the Aerith elevator glitch? Whoa, look. Whoa. This is a glitch. I didn't find this glitch, but I was the first one to like bring it to light. I saw somebody on Twitch accidentally do it, and then I brought it up. But yeah, you can go all the way back to Wall Market like this, and also Aerith is invisible on the screen because it never draws her model. You can go all the way up the stairs. You can go up and buy stuff from the shop. There's all sorts of goofy stuff you can do here. For a very, 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 very small amount of time, you could actually save at that save point and save time in the speedrun back in the Yuffie warping days. But that quickly became not a thing. But for a very small amount of time, it also saved time in the speedrun. Yeah, I used it in the lowest level challenge to get money when I needed money. Alright, so in my sheet of enemies that Slognad made for me, he actually lists these bikers as enemies, which I don't think they're technically enemies. I think they're just models. But sure. We'll say these are enemies. Hold on. Let's form our party here. I think I'm going to go... Red 13 Barrett. What do you have? Titan Bangle. Let's use 3 red 13s. Can you just level some stuff up for me? Thanks. Okay. So the blue bikes will just basically blindly go after Cloud. The orange bikes will go blindly at the car. Actually, wait, do I have that backwards? Do the blue ones go after Cloud? Or the car? No, they kind of go after the car. Where are the yellow ones? Yellow / orange. There they are. Okay. So the blue and the orange ones go after the car. The orange ones are a bit better at it, though. And then the red ones specifically will evade. So when you try to attack, they're coded to move the opposite direction of Cloud, which is why this works. If you get them behind you and then spam attack, they will just stay behind you forever, which is what I always do in this section. to make it easier. If I can get a third red. And way back in the day, during Yuffie Warp stuff, we used to actually take damage during this section on purpose. Part of the speedrun was dying to this as quickly as possible, which you can't actually die during this minigame, but you can get everyone down to 1 HP, and then when Motorball comes in, he kills you. But Cloud is way too tanky to actually get you all the way down to 1 HP. You can only really get him down to like half, even if you... Or the other way around. You can get Cloud up to down to 1 if you just bang into the motorcycles, but it's hard to get everyone down to 1 HP. You got to kind of get the car stuck in the corner with the bike up against it. All right, it's Motorball time. So, Motorball, his fight counts as a back attack, so your rows are reverse, which most people know, but you want to make sure to have your rows be the opposite of what you want before this fight, because it counts as a back attack, so you can see Cloud and Red 13 are in the front row, even though I had them set to the back row. This fight is super scary in speedruns because all of his attacks are super long animations, so you really want to kill him quickly. His rolling fire attack is also really strong against low-level parties. So this is kind of the final boss of Midgar. I mean, he literally is the final boss of Midgar, but he's also like the final boss of the speedrun. The PC speedrun, especially because the run ends right after this. When he drops below 325 HP, he will immediately use Rolling Fire as his next attack, even if he just used it. So the way this fight works is he starts off in this phase, and he does 2 arm attacks, and then he goes into his like downward phase, and he does the Fire Spit attack. And then if he's below a certain amount of HP, he'll go into his other phase and do his Rolling Fire attack, and then go back to this phase. But whenever he gets below 325 HP, he will immediately go into that third phase and use Rolling Fire. So you can get into a weird situation where he just used Rolling Fire and then went back to this phase, and then you hit him under 325 and he immediately uses it again, which can be a bit of a beginner's trap. If you've ever died to Motorball on like your first playthrough, that's probably what happened. Bolt does crazy damage in this fight because he's weak against lightning, but he also has really bad magic defense. So Bolt does like crazy damage. In the speedrun, you just throw grenades all of Midgar because grenades are so powerful. But in this fight, you actually spam Bolt and grenades because Bolt is so strong in this fight. And then we also have concept art here, and I wanted to show, oops, in the concept art that they planned on having Motorball having a shield that deflected attacks and then eventually break and reveal his hand. So if you see this section, this right here, you can see it over here too, but over here it's like a shield with a thing sticking out, and then underneath there's a hand. And if you look at the concept art, you'll see, I think it's this part here. The idea was this shield would break at one point, and then he would just have his hand underneath the shield once it broke. So there probably would have been some mechanic where you attack him and it guards it a certain amount of times, and then it breaks, and then you can start dealing normal damage. But they never ended up implementing that. And that is Motorball. And I'll show how much, I'm sure most people have already seen, but show how much stupid damage Bolt does. 250 damage. Practically limit break damage. In fact, it'll probably do more than cross slash. Yeah. Yeah, so Bolt is the GOAT in this fight. I gotta trash the manipulate materia. I forgot to do that. So yeah, this fight is very tricky in the speedrun. You want to kill him as quickly as possible because all of his attacks are really long. But then on top of that, you need to get him just above 325 HP and then nuke him before he can use Rolling Fire a second time. Both because it's slow and because it'll probably kill you. So the way we do that in the speedrun is we get him down to like 400 HP and then we queue up 2 grenades and a limit break, or bolt and a limit break, because limit breaks will interrupt any action. So you throw the grenade, and then he queues up his rolling fire counter, but because you're using a limit break, the limit break will happen first, and then you kill him with the limit break. So it's a very, very specifically planned out fight in the speedrun. One of the trickiest fights to learn, I'd say, depending on the category. But yeah, I love the idea of him having a shield that maybe completely nullifies physical damage. Or, you know what would be even cooler? If he had a shield that nullified bolt damage. So you use bolt and the shield like absorbs it. But then after you attack normally 5 times or something, the shield breaks and then bolt starts hitting. That way the fight's not just spam bolt win. We got kind of lucky there. We were able to bolt him dead before he rolling fired. I believe the counter is like he queues up the attack. It's not a actual counter. Because if it was the actual counter, then even limit breaks wouldn't interrupt it. So he had it queued up, but then my bolt hit. Well, they would just have to display a message, which, you know, they implemented this great message thing. I actually did the glitch. I wasn't even... I didn't even like mean to do the glitch, but I did the glitch. So now I can move around during this. Peace out, losers. They implemented this great ability to display messages during fights, and then they don't really use it that much. But it would have been great to see them utilize that more, and maybe you use bolt on them and it says, Motorball's shield absorbed the bolt. And then you break the shield and it just says, Motorball's shield is broken. Alright, we have a couple enemies here to check out. I think they're all in the dirt. Or maybe there's... I don't know if the wolves can show up in the dirt. Alright, here's Devil Ride. Fan favorite enemy. Enough so that they brought it back. Alright, so Devil Ride was either a mistranslation or a typo, but the Japanese was supposed to be Devil Rider, which makes a lot more sense and was also fixed in Remake. He's just called Devil Rider. But for whatever reason, they called him Devil Ride in the original. It's probably a typo, or maybe they just thought it sounded cooler because it's kind of a... It does not look like a normal guy on a bike. It looks like a experiment, so maybe they just thought Devil Ride sounded more like an experiment gone wrong than just a normal biker guy. And yeah, this enemy was changed quite a bit in Remake. In Remake, it is just a bandit on a bike. But in this game, it's pretty obvious that this is some kind of, like, experiment. Because you can see, first of all, his arms are, like, 3 times the length of regular arms. But also, does he have his own, like, arms here? Is this, like, an arm? And then these are arms coming out of his back? Or are these just his regular arms? It's hard to tell. But either way, I think it's safe to say it's like a mutant rider guy. Which, if it is, then Devil Ride at least makes a little more sense. But it was definitely supposed to just be Devil Rider. There is one enemy that only spawns in the dirt. And there he is. So this is Custom Sweeper. And of course, everyone knows this enemy for teaching Mantra Magic. And most people also know this enemy because you can steal atomic scissors from him. Which atomic scissors are kind of oof because you get a better weapon for Barret pretty soon afterwards, but they're still kind of cool. Oh, no, never mind. I had that reversed. Forget I said that. The atomic scissors are actually better than the cannonball, which you get from Calm. So I think that this enemy was kind of here as a direct reward of using the steel materia. If you are actively utilizing the steel materia, then you can get the scissors here, which you then go to Calm and immediately find a weapon that's worse. So I feel like it's kind of a way of being like, congratulations, you're using the mechanics correctly. Did they just use Mantra Magic on? Okay, good. I was going to say, if they use it on Barret, I'm going to be ticked. So yeah, there's not a lot of great steel rewards in the game, just general items that you want. Like, I would say the Hard Edge is a big one. Which we forgot to steal, by the way, but whatever. And the... the striking staff is a big one, carbon bangles, and the atomic scissors. After this, stealing becomes a lot less useful. There's not too many, like, until like late game when you get like the mega armors. Let me get rid of this before I forget. The mega armors from the Turks, but for a while, steel's kind of here for just items. But I like these early game rewards for using steel. The beta armors, which are okay, but usually there's better stuff. Nice, we got both. So here is the Calm Fang. So the Calm Fang are super common in this area. They show up in 11 different formations in all 3 of the biomes. So they can show up in the grass, the dirt, and the beach. And they're in 11 different formations. So it's very easy to find them. On top of that, they're also in the battle arena. So they're probably one of the most common enemies in the game. And surprisingly, you can steal ethers from them. Which seems like a very good item for a very simple enemy. You'd think he'd have like a potion or something. But he actually has ethers. They're pretty hard to get though. And then we have the Prowlers, who are our second thief enemy. And I kind of mentioned this before when we talked about the vices. But the Prowlers have 2 different steal moves, steal and grind, and then a third move called seize, which sounds like it would be a steal move, but it actually just does damage. They'll always wait a turn and then use one of their moves and then either run away or wait a turn and then run away. So even if they use seize, which doesn't actually steal anything, they'll still run away afterwards. And one interesting little thing about their AI, which seems like a waste, is that they'll always target the person that attacked them. So if you end up attacking them before they do their steal move, they will specifically steal from the character that attacked them. It doesn't matter because your inventory is shared between all your characters anyways, but it's an interesting little detail. Like, they get mad at that specific target and go, all right, fine, I'll steal from you. I lost my bronze bangle. And I think this guy, I think the other guy used seize, so he didn't steal anything. They can't steal materia, but they can steal anything in your inventory that's not equipped, so. I always thought that there was like a... So, the magic pots way later in the game, at the end of the game, they can steal like ultimate weapons and stuff. And I always thought like they had some specific code where they steal more rare items, whereas the enemies at the start of the game steal really common items because, you know, they don't want to brick your file or something right at the beginning of the game. Turns out, I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. I'm pretty sure every enemy in the game can steal anything. Well, not every enemy, but every enemy that steals can steal any item. It's just that you don't have good items when you fight these guys. So there's not really much. Even if you stole the hard edge, you probably have it equipped, so he's not going to steal it. So it just so happens that you just fight them when there's not really much for them to steal. But if you come back, and if you come back with a lot of good items, pretty sure they can steal some good stuff. You can't steal the items back, but if you kill them before they run away, you get the item back. And I think that is it for this area. All right. Time for the Calm Flashback. Let me get some coffee and stretch, and then we'll do some Calm Flashback. All right. Let's quickly get through the Calm Flashback. We could even skip it, but nah. Oh, is there anything I want to buy here? I don't think so. Normally, I don't buy anything in Calm, but because this is actually like a vanilla playthrough. And also, I want all of the kind of weird materia for potential things later, like this and this. We'll just take those. And sure, I'll take a Mithril Saber since I didn't get the Hard Edge. Alright. So technically we could do the Mount Nibel enemies now during the flashback, but we'll just wait till we get to Mount Nibel properly. So we'll just skip through all this. Even the dragon that you fight with Sephiroth is just the dragon from Mount Nibel. So we'll just do all this trivia when we get there. For now, we'll just enjoy the sweet sounds of the flashback. Do I have any fun trivia about the flashback other than all of the speedrun stuff? In Sephiroth's mouth breathing, yeah. I don't know, are a lot of you guys here, like, familiar with the speedrun stuff? Because I've talked about it so much at this point that I kind of don't even think about it. Because most people here have been here all the way through all of that. But I guess, long story short, when I started streaming frickin' 7 million years ago, the PC run of Final Fantasy VII was just the same as the console run, pretty much. Just faster loads, and the magic defense bug being fixed, and like the small stuff that's different between PC and console. But other than that, pretty much the same exact run. And then shortly after I started streaming, so like 7 or 8 years ago, it was discovered that you could warp using the Yuffie fight, which we'll talk about that later. But through that, something called battle mode warping was found. And you can... I made a video called about wrong warping. That's like one of the most popular videos on my channel. So if you ever want to know like the in-depth of how that works, you can check that video out. But long story short, something called a battle mode warp was found, in that if you game over on a fight that you're not supposed to game over on, that has a certain battle mode flag, you can use that to basically break the game and warp to places you're not supposed to be. And the way that it was done back then was to use a glitch right here, where you wedge yourself in between this guy, the photographer, and this gate. And the text of the photographer telling you about the picture, and Sephiroth telling you get over here when you try to go through the gate, will allow you to run off this screen before Sephiroth actually joins the party. So because of that, you can game over during the next section, which you usually can't do because Sephiroth is completely invincible, and that screws with the game. And so through that, we found out how to warp to places we're not supposed to be, and then through that, we found wrong warping, and then through that, we found wrong warping to the debug room, and then through that, the speedrun became, instead of a 7 to 8 hour affair, it became an hour and a half affair. Because you get out of Midgar, you do the calm flashback, and then you wrong warp to the debug room, and the debug room has a bunch of interactable stuff in it, and one of the interactable things takes you to the end of the game. And then from there, a bunch of different ways to do the wrong warp was found, and eventually we found a way to do it without even doing the calm flashback. Once calm skip was found, we ended up skipping calm altogether and just coming to Mount Nibel early, which causes the same issue to happen. And so the flashback has been a big part of the speedrunning journey, whether it be the finding of the wrong warp or just the fact that calm skip was like the holy grail of the speedrun for the longest time, because everyone wanted to skip the calm flashback. It was a big, long, boring section of the speedrun that didn't affect anything. So it was would be a great thing to skip. And for years and years and years, we all thought it wouldn't happen, and then it finally happened. Both on the PC version and the original version. Did I ever used to stream speedrunning Final Fantasy VII? Oh yeah. I held the world record in PC multiple times, and New Game Plus multiple times, and I basically invented the New Game Plus category. And I also found the biggest glitch used in New Game Plus, which is materia smuggling. We did a lot of Final Fantasy VII speedrunning for a while. Did the UV warp exist before the Steam port? Yeah. Yeah, all the glitches that work on this version work on the original PC version, which some people don't realize. Like, when I make videos about the wrong warp or the Aerith revival stuff, which that stuff works on console too now, but back when we found the original glitch that allowed us to get Aerith back that only worked on PC, a lot of people don't realize, like, that's not just this newer version. That also includes the original PC version, which was only released like a year after the PS1 version. So it's still quote-unquote an original version. Granted, most of us played the PS1 version, but yeah, the only thing that changed between that original PC version and this Steam version is the graphics and some really, really small stuff. All the crazy glitches and bugs and everything exists on both versions. I think the secret cow level only exists in this version too. I think that was added for the Steam version. Yeah, and the better music. The magic defense bug, I think, existed in the original PC version. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, some few people have commented about me making like a edited version of this where I just go like put all the trivia together, go from enemy to enemy, and just have one long edited thing of trivia. So I'll see if I can do that. I would love to do that. It's just whether or not the series gets enough support and I have enough time to do it. Which so far, everyone's been very supportive of this series, so I don't think it'll be a problem. I think that would be a cool project to do. It would take a while, but I think it'll be worth it. Yeah, it'll be something like that. One cool, like, little... Well, I guess I think I have it in the sheet, so never mind. Talk about it when we get there. I guess one thing I can mention is the whole... Trebek's past. The whole controlling Sephiroth thing. I talk about it in the in-depth look at Sephiroth, but if you edit Sephiroth's HP to 0 and then revive him, you can control him. Otherwise, he has his own AI. And his AI is actually pretty interesting. He uses different materia based on what enemies you're fighting. He uses like the perfect materia for each fight. And he has fire, but he never uses it because the one fight that he was supposed to use fire in got removed. I'm very excited to get to this part. For real. I have some fun trivia for this guy down here. This special guy. Yeah, he uses fire on Nibelheim. He was just saving it. How's it going, Pojo? I just wonder why Shinra would keep all this top secret information unguarded in a random town. Well... Well... They built the reactor up on the mountain because they had to. Because that's where the Mako was. But Hojo wanted to do his crazy experiments close to the reactor. So this was kind of his only option. But they didn't want to build like a very obvious research center in Nibelheim. Probably because they wanted people to live there, but didn't want it. They didn't want to like turn it into Shinra Town. They wanted to just put the reactor there and have the town exist as normal. So instead, they just bought this mansion and they just hid it all in the basement. So that Hojo could do his thing and no one would know. Now, why they kept everything down here and didn't, like, burn this place or even get Vincent out of here, I don't know. Guy just left in a hurry, I guess. Like, even after they bought, like, the town got burnt down, they rebuilt the whole town and planted Shinra people here, but they didn't, like, do anything with the mansion. They just locked it up. So yeah, it's a bit of a dumb move on their part. They should have, like, at the very least, just burned the stuff down there. Yo, thank you so much, Flammable. Appreciate that, man. Always love to meet another Legaia fan. I love going back to that playthrough and just seeing how giddy I am playing through the game. Makes me want to play through it again. Maybe they thought it would be suspicious to, like, remove the mansion, but it was already suspicious that they rebuilt the whole town, so... I mean, in general, they are pretty incompetent, so it's not that surprising. Yeah, I think I read your comment where you said something similar to that. I think I recognize your name from that comment. Unless it's a different name. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, the original president does seem pretty incompetent in general. Like, he's just power-hungry idiot. Rufus is smarter, but never gets to really use that in any way, unfortunately. One of the biggest shames of this game that it's really great that the remake can fix is the fact that you only get that one fight with Rufus. That's pretty simple to begin with. It really feels like that fight is just a taste of what Rufus is going to be in the future, and then you just never fight him. He seems to have a better plan than that, though. It just never comes to fruition. Yeah, he should have fired everyone, first of all. When in the story would you have put a second Rufus fight? I think we talked about this before, but... I think there could have been something at the North Crater, the first visit. It would have also been cool if there was more going on with Shinra in the temple, which Remake does, which is cool. But I guess the best place to do it without changing, like, the whole diamond weapon thing would just be at the rocket instead of fighting Rude randomly. Fight Rufus there instead. It could also work in Rocket Town, but I don't think that would have been as good. Rocket Town, you could have really had like a really cool finale with him. Well, they're both in Rocket Town, but the the rocket launch would have been a cooler finale. The Tiny Bronco section is still kind of too early to have a really difficult fight. And also, that's the only time you fight Palmer, so. But Rocket Town doesn't have a proper boss. I keep saying Rocket Town. The rocket launch doesn't have a proper boss. It's just Rude, and you've already fought Rude several times. So instead, there could have been like a big epic Rufus fight there. Okay. Time for Grasslands area, and we have a lot of interesting fights here. What if, what if there was, like, a section right after Cloud wakes up where they kind of mixed in Cloud has finally returned to the party, but we don't know, like, before he has his speech, like, they wake up on the beach, Cloud and Tifa wake up on the beach, and Cloud is seemingly back to his normal self, but we haven't actually had the speech yet where he gives his whole story. And then, like, at the most inopportune time, Rufus decides to attack and take out the party because they know too much or they've done too much or whatever. And so there's some big, like, fight in Medial, the destroyed Medial, where you have to fight a bunch of Shinra goons and then like Rufus at the end, and it kind of gives this nice cliffhanger as to whether or not Cloud is actually fully recovered or not. So you have the big live stream scene, and then they wake up, and then suddenly there's a big battle, and you have to fight all these Shinra executives, and then fight Rufus, and then you get the big speech scene in the Highwind. I think that could have been cool, and given a nice little gap between the huge live stream story scene and then Cloud giving his speech. So maybe that's an idea. Anyways, let's talk about Mandragora. So Mandragora, even though this enemy is named Mandragora, which is known in general fantasy lore to have a scream when you uproot it, and the scream like kills you or deafens you or whatever. Only the counterpart version of this enemy, that's called Razorweed, that we fight later, has a scream attack. This enemy does not have a scream attack, so kind of a lame name for Mandragora. They should have swapped and had this one been called Razorweed and the other one been called Mandragora. This is also super weird because this enemy has a concept art, and in the concept art, it shows him, like, yelling somewhat, you know. It doesn't really look like he's yelling. It looks like he's singing or something, but he has, like, a yell attack, and this says Mandragora, so this is specifically this enemy, but they just kind of forgot to give him the yelling attack. They only gave the Razorweed the yelling attack. Now, one very funny, interesting thing about this enemy that I never knew before... do you notice anything weird about this fight? Let me bring it up to ×5. Yeah, they don't attack. These enemies do not attack until you attack them. So, first of all, if you're in a fight with Mandragora and other enemies, you can completely ignore the Mandragoras and just fight the other enemies first and leave them for last because they will do nothing until you attack them. When you hit them, all of the Mandragora will use Slow Dance if it was a physical attack and Grass Punch if it was a magical attack, and then go back to doing nothing. So look how goofy this is. So if I attack one Mandragora, they will now all four use Slow Dance. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now go back to doing nothing. And then if I use a magic attack, which is also interesting because they have 450 magic defense. So magic does next to no damage to them, even fire. They will all use this attack. And then go back to doing nothing. So very interesting AI here. It's like they only counter what you do, but all of them counter it. All is like one big hive mind. So very unique enemy. You may never even notice it when just fighting normally and attacking normally, but... What if you cure them? I don't remember exactly what the code is. Like what... If it says counter damage or just if they're targeted. So I'm not sure. Let's try it. Which, by the way, this is magic, so... Oh, it actually does cure normal, okay. Yep, nothing. Have to deal damage. And I have no idea why these guys have so much magic defense. I guess it's just a random thing they decided to do. The other version of this enemy has normal magic defense. So not exactly sure why they did that, but... Yeah, do not use magic on these guys. It does next to no damage. They have like ruby weapon levels of magic defense. Most enemies will just resist elements, but these guys just have a crazy magic defense stat. I need to switch my rows. I still have them switched from Motorball. Okay, that's Mandragora down. We still have plenty more here.